Racecourse is the most beautiful racetrack in America, hands down.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you to the breeding stock sale. Book one. Good to have you back with us.
And good evening, Keeneland fans. I'm Jeremy Plonk from Horse Player Now as we get set for the Thursday edition of the Keeneland Look Ahead, Wednesday night, looking ahead to Thursday's card. We do this each night, 8:30 Eastern, on the eve of the next day's racing card, 5-day racing week this week at Keeneland. So excited about that. And, middle of the week card on Thursday, 10 races, and there are no stakes races scheduled. Light on turf racing, which is the one turf race. And you say, well, that's not very interesting. Well, we've got 68-year-old Perry Oots, who I think is going to win the first race on the card. And we have the winningest horse in America, Beverly Park, running in the nightcap that could bookend the card in what is his 24th start this year. 24. This isn't a harness horse. This is a thoroughbred. And Beverly Park's already chalked up 11 wins this year, looking for number 12 in the nightcap. There are just a couple of the interesting storylines on this Thursday card that also includes a $17,000 carryover in the pick six, just under $18,000. In fact, nobody was able to solve the pick six on Wednesday's card because favorites, well, they went just 1 for 8. It was not a good day for chalk players Wednesday at Keeneland. We will see if it turns around in a little more formful, perhaps. On the Thursday card, these things do tend to even out over time. So certainly the 1 for 8 performance by the favorites to start this race week, not foretelling so much. There was a little precipitation later in the day at Keeneland, but tomorrow's forecast for Thursday looks good. Temps, mid to upper 60s, clear sky. So I think we're going to have a good day for racing. Track should be fast. Turf probably good after a little bit of rain today, and it was listed good to start today. So I would expect fast track, good turf course for the Thursday action, but be sure to check Keeneland.com and WLKY weather for the Lexington area. A good place to check in with as well. But we should have a good day for racing on Thursday that we anticipate. Good day in the selections that we had today. If you watched the program last night, one of our key plays in race number 5 on the card was a horse we needed named Script, 15-1 in the morning line. We hinted last night that we didn't think we were going to get 15, but we thought we'd still get a healthy price, and we did at 6-1. So a nice winner for Script is our key play in the middle of the card yesterday. And we talked about how in those 8 race programs that the early and late, pick 4s, pick 5s, everything runs through race number 5. So on those days where you can work out a good opinion on that particular race that swings on so many different wagers, it can be very beneficial. Early pick 5 paid $3,200. Ending with Script, and the late pick 5 that included Script, $13,000. So hopefully it helped you cash a good one, even if you didn't get any of the big ones around it. Perhaps maybe you cash nice on that $15 plus winner Script. We'll have 3 more key plays for you coming up when we reveal tonight's look at tomorrow's card and all of our selections for the 10 race program. Good day for Irad Ortiz Jr. He won 2 today on Wednesday. Todd Pletcher continued his winning ways, and really, he unleashed a nice horse. Forbidden Secret, a 2-year-old allowance horse, a New York bred, had won big against state breds in the Big Apple, and now came here to Keeneland and open company and romped in an allowance race. So I think Forbidden Secret's a 2-year-old to watch for Pletcher, a horse who's probably maybe headed to the Kentucky Jockey Club at Churchill coming up Thanksgiving weekend. Timing would seem right. The horse has a couple races under his belt now. An allowance winner. Got to go to the stakes ranks now. If you're a 2-year-old who's already an allowance winner, there's really not going to be any conditions for him to run but stakes races. So look for today's impressive 2-year-old allowance winner, Forbidden Secret and Stakes Company. Next, could be put away until the winter and head to Gulfstream with a lot of the Pletcher charges. He runs a lot of horses at Fairgrounds over the winter, of course, in their stakes series. So maybe you just sit back and wait for the LeCompte or something like that. But I'd be curious to see where we see Forbidden Secret next. A nice winner on today's card. One more recap of what we saw on the Wednesday program. The Mid-Atlantic flexed its muscles a little bit. Lacey Gaudette won the opener with a horse based in Maryland, last race at Delaware Park. And then, of course, the horse we talked about, Script, Laurel-based horse, Fair Hill in Maryland, and Laurel raced runner for Graham Motion. So 2 winners from the Mid-Atlantic in the 8-race card. That's atypical to see 2 of those pop on the same day here at Keeneland. So we'll see if those runners have a little more success as we get in more of the blue collar part of the meet. We're beyond Fall Stars weekend now. Good stakes races coming up over the weekend. The Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup. The field was drawn for that today. Grade 1 for the 3-year-old fillies. McCulloch for trainer Chad Brown, going to be a solid favorite in there in the field. So look for McCulloch on Saturday. We'll talk about that race plenty more as we get further into the week. And the Sycamore Stakes. Whew, what an addition of the Sycamore we got coming up on Friday. I mean, a fantastic field. All the top older veteran marathon turf horses that you expect to see in there. Channel Maker, Arklow, the whole lot there. Red Knight, just a really nice group going towards the Sycamore Stakes on Friday's card. Let's talk Thursday racing now and get into this Thursday program with the look at the big picture. Here's how it shakes out. We've got a 10-race card. If you recall, in recent meets, the Thursday cards sometimes fell in line with the Wednesdays with 8 races, sometimes moved to 9, but we've got a full 10-race card here the second week of the meet, so that's a treat. We got 10 races to go to take a look at tonight, and Pick 5 is going to start in race number 1 as usual. Pick 4 in race number 2. No overlaps in the Pick 4s and Pick 5s because of the 10-race format. So the late Pick 5 is going to start in the 6th. The late Pick 4 will start in the 7th. And we've got a carryover in the Pick 6 in race number 5. Again, the Pick 6 starts there. Carryover of $17,862. No Keeneland Turf Pick 3 because we've only got 1 turf race scheduled on this program. So the Keeneland Turf Pick 3 will return with Friday's card. Several turf races on Friday, including the big stakes, the Sycamore. So we will get back to that Keeneland Turf Pick 3 on Friday's action. None yet today, Wednesday, or on Thursday. Only turf race, I probably should have put it on the big picture here, is race number 9. Race number 9 is a 1-mile turf allowance. So we've got that entry-level allowance race for the turf set. I can tell you the first couple races on the card before we go handicapping horse by or race by race. I think it's going to be pretty chalky early in the program. The first 2 or 3 races might lull us to sleep with some shorter type prices. But then in race number 4, things can kind of open up for us here. I've got a 15-1 shot in the morning line that I'm going to try to tackle in race number 4. 15-1 morning line. You say, that's not likely. That's what we caught today. Maybe the price will be shorter, but we'll tell you about that horse in race number 4. I think there's an important jockey switch on a horse who's a nice price in race number 6. That's going to be my second key play, and that'll be the opening leg of the late Pick 5. Maybe we can get off to a good price start there. And there's a big favorite in race number 8, but I'm going to lean on C and CD, Churchill Downs, where there's a nice profile in the statistical trends developing here at the meet that I think we can lean on in race number 8 to perhaps upset what will be a pretty heavy favorite. As we like to do here on the Keeneland Look Ahead, we take a look at the big picture and try to strategize how we'll line up our day. We'll keep referring back to that. But I also like to give you a look at the Keeneland Handicapper Selectors Box, the consensus picks from our 5 public handicappers at Keeneland.com. Give you a screenshot of that, and we'll refer back to it throughout the course of this 30, 40 minutes that we have together tonight, because this gives us a sense of where we think the logical favorites will be, where the wide open races might be. Today, we had 4 races of the 8 where the public handicappers had 5 different horses picked on top. So remember, when I mentioned that last night, when it was a crazy night where 5 handicappers had 5 different horses in 4 of the races in the program, said, this looks like it could be a little bit of a crazy day. Well, that's how you evaluate a situation like that. And it turned out to be spot on. Again, favorites just 1 for 8 today. Pick 6 carried over. Nobody hit it. Early Pick 5 paid over $3,000. Late Pick 5 paid over $13,000. So if you see a day like yesterday where the public handicappers that you know and follow are all over the place, it's a chance for a good price day, and that's a good sign. So let's take a look back at the selectors box for Thursday's action. Again, 10 race cards starting here, and we'll go right to the opener now. In race number 1, a couple different picks in here. 3 different horses selected on top, but there is some consensus for first glimpse in here. The 4 horse picked on top by 3 of the 5 handicappers coming in off a win at Indiana Grand. I like the Horseshoe Indianapolis. Now I'm going to make that mistake a couple times. Indiana Grand, of course, renamed Horseshoe Indianapolis. We'll just call it Indy for easy purposes. The Indy horses do pretty well in the starter allowance races at Keeneland in the fall meet. Historically, Churchill dominates. They have the numbers, and we see more winners from Churchill. That's the first place you'd like to look. But in the opening race on Thursday, there are no Churchill horses coming off races at Churchill in this field. So the next likeliest place where horses have come from and won starter allowance races in the fall has been Indy. So Quantum Leap is picked by several of my cohorts. I've got Quantum Leap, or I should say First Glimpse, is the pick by several of my cohorts in here coming from Indy. I went with another Indy horse, though, Midnight JJ, down on the rail. This is a horse who's won 3 straight races, seems to be getting faster with each of them. The wins were at Belterra in Ohio, and then last time out at Indy with a 4-length win. Wire to wire, speed inside, and we talked about the interesting note, 68-year-old jockey Perry Oots, one of the winningest jockeys, certainly active riders in the game and of all time. Thousands of victories for Perry Oots. I think he's over the 4,000 win mark. I should know off the top of my head, but he's way up there. Veteran rider, has been riding in the Kentucky and Ohio circuits for so long, and throughout the Midwest. Oots riding Midnight JJ. I think he goes right to the front in this particular spot. There is a decent amount of speed in here. The 2 Bless the Kittens probably also want to go, but it's a short field. There's not many in here, only a field of 6. I like speed in smaller field sizes, not as many horses to take you on up front. So I think Midnight JJ, Bless the Kitten, the 1 and the 2 can kind of control the pace in here, and that's the way I'm going to go in the opener. First Glimpse, the horse also from Indiana that my cohorts are leaning on here. Big buyer number last time out, 83, but that's the same number that Midnight JJ got last time. This is a horse who ran in the Indiana Derby earlier this year. He's a 3-year-old, gets in at 118 pounds. Same with Midnight JJ at 118 pounds. The older horses carry 122 in here. And this time of year, I don't have a problem taking a 3-year-old against older. And if you're going to give me 4 pounds as well, nothing wrong with that. No argument if somebody likes First Glimpse in here. I don't have a strong feel for this starter allowance race and only a field of 6. I mean, I think you could definitely take the 1, the 2. Quantum Leap interests me, a horse who's been knocking on the door at Hawthorne, Canterbury on the turf. Should be able to fit well in this spot. And then First Glimpse. So there's really 4 horses. I hate to do it in a 6-horse field, but you could go 4 deep in here, the 1, 2, 5, and 4 to get through the early pick 5. And when you're 4 deep in the opener already, it becomes a situation where can I narrow somewhere else, right? I don't want to be 4 here and big numbers in every other leg. So 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th races, can we narrow down? If we can't, then being 4 deep in the opener probably tells you ought to be looking maybe at the pick 4 starting in race number 2 instead of playing the pick 5 if you can't narrow. And so you're going by a factor of 4 in the first leg, and you see where the pick 5 starts here in the opener. That's going to multiply whatever your pick 4 was going to cost will be times 4. So if your pick 4 that you come up with is a $40 ticket, that means your pick 5 would be 160, 40 times 4. So, when you strategize here, you got to narrow somewhere else. And if you can't narrow somewhere else in this pick 5, then the early pick 5 is probably not the play you want to make, at least with my handicapping, where I think there are 4 very logical win contenders in race number 1. Let's go to the second on the card, see if we can't do some of that narrowing I talked about. Doozy Bats might be the place to do it. 4 of the 5 public handicappers all have Doozy Bats on top, the 7 in race number 2. Domitia Lucella is, I have no idea if I said that right, is Tom Leach's top pick, the 6. So he's got the 7, Doozy Bats second as well. So it's all 7 with a little 6 splattered in there. And Doozy Bats is a horse for trainer Wesley Ward. Comes off a race at Churchill. Maiden claimers here going 6.5. Ward wins more maiden claimers in the fall than any other trainer here at Keeneland. He had another nice win today. That one was a turf to dirt move and a little bit of a class drop. Doozy Bats makes the class drop from 50 down to 20, and a horse who ran on the turf here to no avail in April in the spring meet as a 3-year-old. She comes back here, though, in the fall off a nice 3rd place finish last time out. Disappointing, though, when you get beat at 4 to 5. So if you don't want to take too short of a price, then you got to find an alternative. Which other horse in here kind of warms you up and excites you? That's the question. There's not a lot of other good options in here. Verdandy's a horse I gave a little bit of a shot to off since June, but this horse has already been down to the 10,000 level, but freshened up, has the Churchill races under the belt, maybe a little bit of pace, showed some speed last time. You want horses near the front. Look, horses near the front did very well here opening week. They look good today again. And so for Danny, might be able to get up near the lead based on that last race, but Doozy Bats is probably faster. You just expect the Wesley Ward horses to get out of the gate. So that's the one to beat in here. The 6 is the other horse in here, but this one turns back from a mile and a 16th to 6.5 furlongs. Maybe not fast enough, simply for 6.5. So Doozy Bats, a logical single, probably a short price. And like I said, I don't see a lot of big prices early. We only have a 6-horse field in the opener. And even though you're 4 deep, the 4th choice in that race might be 7-2. So I don't think we're going to get a big price in the opener. I think you've got a very solid favorite in race number 2. So as I mentioned at the top, I think this is going to be pretty short prices to start things off, because as we get to race number 3 as well, I don't think there's a big price in here. I like the 2 in here. She's Cold as Ice. If you're an old Foreigner fan, the next line is she's willing to sacrifice. So Cold as Ice, she's Cold as Ice, my top pick in here, also for Scott Hazelden, also for Gabby Gaudet. So all over the TV monitors, you're going to see the 2 picked on top. She's Cold as Ice. This is a horse who's a 3-time winner. This is a dual condition claimer. Dual condition claimers mean there's 2 different ways that you can qualify for this particular race. It's for horses who have not won 3 races lifetime, or if you're a 3-year-old, you can run in this race no matter how many races you've won. So She's Cold as Ice has already won 3 races at age 3. So you got some older horses here, 4, 5, 6, who haven't even won 3 times yet. So she's already cleared the non-winners of 3 lifetime condition, but she gets in this race because she's only 3 years old. I think that's a good class edge, and she has taken on nothing but older horses. If you look back at her running lines, I believe the last 8 starts she's made, the 2-horse She's Cold as Ice has raced against 3-year-olds and up. So she's used to running against older horses. Her form's good. She's won 2 of her last 3. She's been the exact 4 straight. She's a 3-time winner, taking on a bunch of non-3 lifetimes. I think She's Cold as Ice is a pretty solid winner in here, and clearly the horse to beat in race number 3, but I don't think you're going to get any price here. So again, I've got back-to-back favorites in the 2nd and the 3rd. We'll see in the opener. Midnight JJ might be 2nd choice in there, might be 3rd choice. But I don't think we're going to get a big price in the first couple on the card. If you're looking for exactas and other horses to hook up with, I've got Nana's Gray as a potential runner-up in race number 3. That's Tom Leach's top pick in there. This is also a 3-time winning 3-year-old. So taking the 2 horses who have already cleared the condition. But She's Cold as Ice beat this horse by 4 lengths last time at Churchill, going 6. I don't think the 6.5 really makes Nana's Gray any closer to She's Cold as Ice. I think they're both about the same on the stretch out. So she's got to make up 4 lengths in order to beat She's Cold as Ice. To me, it's the exact, the 2-5 in race number 3. 4th race on the card doesn't start any of the new wagers as far as the multi-race bets go, but it will be part of the early pick 5 and the early pick 4, of course. And this is where I've got my first price play of the day. Again, I mentioned the favorites in the 2nd and 3rd, likely, maybe a horse who's going to be 2nd, 3rd choice in the opener. But in this race, race number 4, I'm 15-1 in the morning line, and we're looking for a little back-to-back magic after being successful with that kind of price on the Wednesday card. I'm on Mo's Mojo. And if you look across here in race number 4, Real News picked on top by 3 of the 5 handicappers. That's my 2nd choice in here. Create Again picked on top by Gabby Gaudet, but I'm the only one with Mo's Mojo on top. Scott's got that one 2nd. I like this horse coming off the races at Churchill Downs. The difference to the drop from 32,000 to 25 can be really effective here. Kind of moved into the pace a little soon last time at 6.5. Looking for a little more patience from Joe Talamo here and just make one run with this horse. And at 7 furlongs, just kind of sit 2nd, 3rd, and pounce at the right time. I think 7 furlongs will suit. I think the $25,000 class level suits. And the way this race shakes out, there's not just a ton of early speed in here. King's Mischief made the lead, but that was going long. Down on the rail, Real News likes to be pretty forwardly placed, but not a dead set speed horse. Moda Galley's a horse who's got front running speed going longer, but not necessarily sprinting. I think Full Impact is what we call cheap speed, a horse who's been running in cheaper level races, and at 5.5, I think the cheap speed goes to the front with Full Impact, and a horse who sits 2nd or 3rd can just get a dynamite trip in here, and that's what I'm hoping with Mo's Mojo. I hope that Talamo waits and just makes one run at that cheap speed and goes after Full Impact. Mo's Mojo most likely to get that trip, I think, in this race. I give Real News a shot in here 2nd and Big Thorn 3rd, but at 15-1 in the morning line, give me Mo's Mojo and give me Mo of that if we can get that kind of price. I think it's a good pace scenario for this horse, who should be sitting second or third with every chance turning for home with the cheap speed starting to back up. Real News, the top pick again from many of my cohorts in here. Definitely a horse you want to use in your multi-race wagers. I think this is one where you use the 4 and the 1. Do we get to the 7 Big Thorn? Yeah, I can make the argument for or against. Big Thorn gets a lot of minor slices, 10 times, second or third out of 19. So if I'm looking for multi-race bets, I'm going to try against Big Thorn. I think the horse could run second, third, fourth. But on top, I want horses who you might have a little more propensity to win. Give me the 4-1, just going too deep in here. So if we can single the 7 in race 2, single the 2 in race 3, then we go too deep in race 4. Now that 4 deep in the opener doesn't look so bad, right? As we work our way through this sequence of pick 5s and pick 4s, opening pick 5 again, we could go 4 deep, then single, and then we're 2 deep in race number 4. That gets us to race number 5 using a total of 8 combinations, 4 times 1 times 1 times 2. That's 8 combinations. So at 50 cents, it would only cost us $4 in the pick 5 for every horse we add in race number 5. Now we're talking about suddenly an affordable ticket that we might be able to jump in on. Nepotism is my pick, and you never want to say nepotism is your pick, but nepotism is my pick in here, ironically enough, here in race number 5, final leg of the early pick 5. Nepotism last time set a very fast pace for a mile race, 45 flat. Second quarter was ridiculously fast under Colby Hernandez. They changed riders to Luis Saez here. The last time Luis Saez rode this horse was at Keeneland. They ended up winning in their maiden race by 8 lengths. This is Starter Allowance Company. So these horses, basically, most of them have 1 career victory. You do have 3 wins from Cousin Larry eligible because he was able to win multiple times below the $50,000 starter allowance rank. So Cousin Larry may have a little bit of an edge on experience and class and number of races that he's won. And he's run well here at Keeneland in the past with a couple victories. So Nepotism, a big win over the track. Cousin Larry's won over the track a couple times and has the 3 wins against some horses in here who are non-winners at 2. I also think the outside horse, Quick to Blame, the 8, fits the conditions of this race. It's a starter allowance for $50,000 level. When you see that 50S for the starter allowance, you read the conditions. It's for horses who have started for a claiming price of $50,000 or less and then haven't won a race other than, basically haven't won an allowance race. But you had to have started at some point in your career for $50,000 or less. So if that's the condition of a starter allowance race, 50,000 is the max. You kind of want to go through the past performances and see who only showed up once for $50,000, right? You don't want a horse who's been running a bunch for $15,000 running against horses who were running for above $50,000 every time except once. So you want to find the one horse who dropped in for the max level of the starter allowance just one time, because that's what got them eligible for this race. And the extra candy is the one time they dropped into that easiest level, the 50,000 level here that they can be eligible for. What did they do in that race? Well, that's what I like, because Nepotism dropped one time below 50,000. It was for 30 and won by 8 lengths. Quick to Blame, the other horse I've got picked in my top 3, dropped only one time in for 50 or less and broke the maiden there for 50,000. So they did exactly what you're supposed to do to be eligible for this kind of race. They're like a maximum fit, if you will. So I think Nepotism, Quick to Blame, 2 horses you definitely want to use in here, and as well as Cousin Larry, the 3-time winner. So I would go 3 deep in here to wrap up my pick 5 ticket. So you're going 4 deep in the opener, single in the second, single in the third, 2 deep in the fourth, and then 3 deep in the finale. And you're looking at what is the equivalent of a $12 ticket. For 50 cents. So not too shabby there if you can get a $12 ticket in on the early pick 5. Now, there's 4 combinations played in the first leg. So that means you're looking at a $3 ticket for the pick 4 if we play single, 2, and then 3. It's only 6 combinations, $3. So with the horses I really like today, it doesn't work out this way all the time. Sometimes you got to spread, but I'd like to play more focused tickets. If I can go single in the second, single in the third, 2 deep in the fourth, 3 deep in the fifth, again, that's 6 combinations at a 50-cent ticket, just $3 for every time I want to play the pick 4 in the early part of the sequence. So to me, that looks pretty attractive, that you don't have to spend a lot. Even if you get a couple favorites or shorter prices early on, if we can catch that price in race number 4, that's what we're looking to do. And we give ourselves a couple different options in race number 5. So that's the way I'm going to approach the first half of this Thursday card. So there are some bigger prices to come later in the program. I've got some longer prices that I like. You get some deeper fields, some more competitive fields. But early in the card, if you're going to have some smaller field sizes, some favorites expected to win, you're probably not going to make a lot of hay intra-race, right? Like betting win, exactas, tries, supers. So early part of the card on this kind of day, I think you want to try to play some focus tickets in the multi-race bets. Pick 4, pick 5 seem good early in the day. You don't have to spend a lot to do it. Then you have more bankroll left for later in the day when there are, I think, more attractive gambling races and some more attractive prices to go after because the races are simply much deeper. So let's go to race number 6 now. And as we start the back half of the card, it is the pick 5 opener in race number 6. Maiden claimers going 6 furlongs in this one. And I think there's an interesting jockey change in here. Look, when you've got maiden claimers, they're 2-year-olds at this point. It's not that they're giving up on them at this stretch, but they're trying to find a little bit easier spot. Horses dropping from maiden special to maiden claiming do very well in these 2-year-old maiden claiming races historically. They win about half of them. So you're looking for the horses on the class drop here. We're a first-time starter. Horses who have already been in for claiming tags and are back for claiming, they probably are still, they've shown their hand already. So I would avoid the horses who have already dropped into a maiden claimer. Horses like Perfect Rose, horses like Marsan in this race. We've got a couple of them. Focus on the maiden special weight droppers in these maiden claiming races for 2-year-olds, and then a first-time starter if one catches your eye. I think the jockey change that's significant is Smooth Like Ice. The 4-horse in here, Joe Sharp trains. Luis Saez gets the call on this one. Second-time starter. Saez did not ride this horse at Kentucky Downs in the career debut, but I think Smooth Like Ice is one who now drops. This is a trainer who's much better with the second career starters than with the career debuts, Joe Sharp we're talking about. And the fact that he goes to Luis Saez is pretty significant. They've teamed up 12 times at Keeneland over the last year, and they've got 4 winners with a big ROI. So you more than double your money betting Joe Sharp when he goes to Luis Saez at Keeneland over their 12 tandem tries in the last year plus. So I like the jockey change here from Adam Beschizza to Luis Saez. I think they kind of mean business here. It's turf to dirt. It's Joe Sharp who can pop with the price. Jock trainer combo. A lot to like there. And 12-1 in the morning line, Smooth Like Ice. Going to be a nice price play for us in race number 6. One of our 3 key plays on the card. And race number 6 is the beginning leg of the late pick 5. So if we can pop this off with a 12-1 shot, or even if the horse gets bet a little bit more, certainly would have no problem at all taking 6-7-1 here. Definitely to begin the late pick 5 at that kind of price. As for the other public handicappers in race number 6, Tom Leach is also with me on Smooth Like Ice. We're the only 2 to list that runner, both as top selections. But then there's 3 other horses chosen on top. So 4 different picks from the 5 public handicappers here. The 2 Divine Grace has Gabby Gaudet's tab. The 6 Kim Nelson has, or 6 Cherriere has Kim Nelson's pick. And then the 8 Science is picked on top by Scott Hazelton. I thought Science is going to be a pretty heavy favorite in here because it's Brad Cox dropping in class. Cox is really tough. He wins 36% according to the DRF stats when he drops from maiden special to maiden claiming. Science showed good speed in the career debut at Churchill before backing up against tougher competition. So I think Science is a logical horse in here to go along with Smooth Like Ice. Smooth Like Ice, definitely my top play, going to be a much better value play. Intra-race, I really want Smooth Like Ice. But when it comes to multi-race and we're starting that late pick 5, I think this is a too deep situation. I do respect Science in here. But Smooth Like Ice, Science going to be my 2 horses that I use in race number 6 to start the late pick 5. To the 7th race we go, and back to the big picture where you'll see this is the start of the late pick 4. Late pick 4, final 4 races on the card with this 10 race format in the program. And let's take a look at what the public handicappers have to say in race number 7. I thought this was one that probably would be an either-or situation, and that seems to be the case. Everybody seems to be along 2 camps here. Extra Anejo, the 8-horse, or the 4 Juan Valdez. If you like good pedigrees, this is certainly where you're looking at it. $1.35 million purchase, Extra Anejo. Steve Asmussen trains this son of Into Mischief. course, Into Mischief, the leading sire in Keeneland's dirt since returning to that surface in 2014. No sires had more success. I love the Into Mischiefs at 7 furlongs. This is an about 7 furlong debut distance. Extra Anejo, really a horse for Steve Asmussen. I think you have to look at in here as ready to go. They're debuting with intent here. Asmussen's got more first-time starters winning Keeneland and fall meets than any trainer since we started back in the dirt era. So I think Extra Anejo is going to be very tough in here. Juan Valdez is a horse, though, picked by a couple of the other public handicappers on top. This is a half-brother to Constitution. He's by Medalla d'Oro, out of Baffled. Of course, Constitution won the Florida Derby, won the Don Handicap for Todd Pletcher. Really nice 3-year-old who went on to be good at 4 as well, winning the Don. Juan Valdez did not show a whole lot in the career debut at Saratoga after being bumped at the start, so you can't get a lot out of that race. You're almost treating this $900,000 colt as a first-time starter. Couple works since that race on September 3rd. Again, you don't get a lot out of the works. 49-1, 51-4 breezing, but Shug McGahee's got Juan Valdez here at Keeneland. Probably improves off that career debut, but I'm taking a shot against Juan Valdez. I'm not going to use Juan in my top 3. I've got Summon Your Courage second, and Toshibe, I think, named for the Kentucky basketball player. I know I probably butchered the name there, but that's the other one I think you want to consider in there. But I would single. I'm bullish here. I think this first-time starter is going to come out running, firing bullets in the morning. Extra Anejo, 2-year-old to watch, and Into Mischief. I think they're debuting with major intent. And for me, it's a single. I think this horse is going to get bet. I think the horse will be bet to favoritism. So I don't think this is going to be like a great gamble per se. Like, I'm not putting it as one of my top 3 plays of the day because I think the price is going to be short. But the confidence level is pretty darn high in here. I think Extra Anejo wins race number 7 and kicks off the late pick 4. Okay, well, our third key play of the day comes up in race number 8, next up on the card. And look, there's going to be a lot of people picking Static Fire. I get that. Static Fire is going to be a heavy favorite in this particular spot. And as we look at the public handicappers across the way, Static Fire for Scott, Static Fire for Tom. Gabby's got Static Fire running second. Kim's got Static Fire on top. I'm going to try to beat Static Fire in here, coming off a couple turf races at Saratoga and Kentucky Downs. Has gone 2 for 2 on the main for Brian Lynch at Churchill. No super knock on the favorite, but the Churchill Downs horses absolutely dominated the allowance races opening week. And as we get into week 2, I'm looking for that to continue. The horses who ran at that Churchill meet in September were outstanding and in allowance company last week. They really just fit the spot and the timing and the class level here at Keeneland. So I'm going to try to go against Static Fire in here with a couple of horses. I've got Chasing Fireflies and Promises to Dance, the 4 and the 3, both coming off races at Churchill, both coming off decent efforts. And in the same race, Chasing Fireflies ran 3rd in the same race September 25th against Republic, and then Promises to Dance finished 4th in that same spot. So I'm going to come back with those 2 right back the same way. I like the Twirling Candy pedigree here at Keeneland for Chasing Fireflies, and I think we're going to get a better price on Chasing Fireflies. When those 2 ran last time at Churchill Downs, Chasing Fireflies was 9-1 and beat Promises to Dance, who was 6-1. The fact that Promises to Dance is trainer Brad Cox, his horses just simply get bet. And this one will probably get bet more than Chasing Fireflies will in this spot. So in putting them in the pecking order, I think you take it 4 over the 3. Beat them last time head-to-head, and I think you're going to get every bit the better price on Chasing Fireflies. So that's going to be my pick, and that's going to be my third key play of the day, is trying to knock off this horse who's 4-5 in the morning line, Static Fire. If we can do it with Promises to Dance or Chasing Fireflies, now things really open up nicely, because I'm going to single in race number 7 with the first-time starter. And again, I'll go 2 deep here, just 3 and 4. The 4 horse and the 3 horse in race number 8. I'm going to toss the 4-5 morning line favorite. And if we can get outside the public, that's what you want to do, where everybody else is on the 6 Static Fire. If we can get that one beat with the 4 or the 3, doesn't matter which one when it comes to pick 4 and pick 5 purposes, that's going to blow up the ticket. And that's what we're looking to do in race number 8. Only turf race on the Thursday card comes up in race number 9. It's a first level allowance, turf mile allowance in this spot. And Opening week, we saw that the Saratoga horses really did well on the turf. We expected that with the class of the races that were going on opening week. But I would see the Kentucky Downs horses and some horses from some other locales start to show a little bit more here as we get the weeks 2, 3, and 4 of the meet on the grass. One that I took in here in race number 9 was Candy Light. Candy Light's a horse coming in from Colonial Downs. Trainer Graham Motion is off to a really good start. Motion trained the horse today that we had, who was 6-1. The horse bet down off that 15 morning line. Motion had a win opening week. His horses are all running well right now. And I like Candy Light in here coming out of the Virginia Oaks. She was a nice closer. Look, the closing profile has been good in these turf races going long. And, I think that from off the pace, Candy Light will get something to run out of here. Joel Rosario, no better jockey timing a late running move than he. And as a 3-year-old filly, she gets a 4-pound weight break. So any given the course, if it's a little bit, it has just a little give at all, that'll help some horses with some stamina and help horses who are not carrying as much weight. So I think Candy Light is a horse who can pull it off in race number 9. I think Terrace is a good one coming in from Southern California. This is a horse Mark Cassie had at Saratoga in the summer. Then they sent out to Santa Anita and Del Mar, not this summer, but last fall. Coming off the long layoff, they had Lasix for this daughter of Tourist. And Terrace is an interesting runner because, again, you say, well, geez, horse hasn't run since last year. But long layoffs at Keeneland, the one place you want to find them and embrace them is in turf miles. The turf miles have long been a haven for horses coming back off long breaks. They handle it. They just simply handle it and have enough stamina. So Taurus off the long layoff doesn't worry me too much there at all. Candy Light, Taurus, Intrigue, a horse for Mike Maker, who won at Kentucky Downs last time. Also one to consider in there. But, in this spot, as we look across and see what the other public handicappers have, this isn't one of the races where I've got like this massive opinion, but I like Candy Light. But when you have a horse that's going to come from that far off the pace, coming from well back, you can't be overly confident, right? You could be a victim of a slow pace. You could be a victim of traffic trouble. Things just don't pan out for you. So while I like Candy Light, I think this is a race where you definitely want to get a little bit of coverage. Daisy B, the 7, picked on top by Kim, by Gabby, and by Scott. Not in my top 3, but sometimes you just run out of space for horses. I would have no argument with Daisy B. She's got some early pace in here, and Rusty Arnold sends out this Calumet horse second off the layoff. Ran at Keeneland well last year, winning a turf mile in the maiden race. Second time Lasix, probably needed the start last time off the layoff for a conservative trainer like Rusty. Daisy B could be set forth. So if you wanted to add Daisy B to my top 3 and go 4 deep in here, I have no argument with that whatsoever. And maybe you've got them covered pretty well with that. 2, 8, 11, and 7. Let's go 4 deep because, like I said, we're narrowed pretty nicely with Juan Valdez or with Extra Anejo, I should say, with the 2 runners upsetting the favorite in race number 8. We're only 2 deep there. So let's go to the 4 deep hole here and go 4 deep in race number 9, 2, 8, 11, and 7 as I take some of my partner's advice in here with Daisy B. And to the final race on the card, race number 10. Let's just pivot right into this one. What a fun race this is going to be. Race number 10 is a starter allowance just down at the $10,000 level. So you say, well, these horses have run for $10,000 or less at some point over the past year plus, and 21 or 22. Maybe these are some cheaper claiming horses and not that exciting of a race. But Beverly Park is in here. Beverly Park's a horse, if you follow Keeneland, has won 3 races on the Keeneland dirt, could be a 4-time winner on the Keeneland dirt. I would have to go back and look in the database, but I'm pretty sure we don't have a 4-time winner on the surface since going back to dirt in the fall of 2014. Have to look that up. Maybe I'll post something on social media about it in the next day before this race runs tomorrow afternoon. But I think Beverly Park would be the first horse to win 4 times on the Keeneland main track since going back to dirt. And what an impressive year this horse has had. You could talk about the horse for course angle and say that's a good reason to play. But 23 starts this year, 23 starts, 11 victories for Beverly Park. And it's go anywhere for the starter allowances. What a great campaign here for the Built Right Stables runner, because they've gone anywhere where they can find a starter allowance in the condition book for $10,000 or even the $5,000 or less level and rattle off victories. I mean, figure this horse has been to Charlestown, to Laurel, to Monmouth, to Belterra, Churchill, Thistledown, back to Belterra, Delaware, Colonial, the Timonium State Fair in Maryland for a victory 2 starts back, and at Churchill Downs last time. Last time at Churchill, it was on a 20,000 starter allowance. The race in Maryland was just a $5,000 starter allowance. So this horse is winning over the head of the minimum commitment that he could be running in. What a neat 5-year-old Beverly Park has become, not only this year, but this year's a remarkable year for Beverly Park, winning 11 times. No horse in the country has won 11 times. This is the winningest horse in the United States this year. But last year was 9 for 10 with a second place finish. I mean, you're talking about 20 for 33 with 26 top 2 finishes in those 33 starts over the last 2 years. I don't know how you pick against Beverly Park in here. And I know 1 for Richie is good, and he might be better. But picking against Beverly Park hasn't worked out too well statistically at Keeneland last year or this year. We'll see how it turns out. And there are some folks willing to go against Beverly Park in here and take a shot at 1 for Richie. Tom Leach is going to do it, as is Gabby Gaudette. But you can all see this is a 2-horse race by almost all accounts. It's the 2 or the 5. Thirsty Betrayal is a horse I give a chance, maybe because they both have the same style. Beverly Park's fast early. 1 for Richie's fast early. A lot of times 2 speed horses don't end up running 1-2 in a race. One of them gets tired out chasing, and then somebody else comes along and nips them for second. No doubt the second most likely winner in this race is 1 for Richie. If you had to rank it, I think Beverly Park's the most likely winner, then 1 for Richie. Definitely the second best. But I think the late running style for Thirsty Betrayal coming from off the pace could split them in the exacta. So when you see my top 3 and you see the 10-horse picked second here in the last race, that means I'm thinking it could run 2-10-5. The second most logical result would be 5-10, 2-10, 5-10, that one of the speed horses wins, the other one gets tired, and the closer comes along to run second. So not all public handicappers look at it that way. I put them in the order I think they're going to cross the finish line. A lot of people put them in the order that they think are the most likely winners, 1, 2, and 3. But I like to put them in the order I think they'll finish. So I've got Beverly Park on top, outlasting 1 for Richie, the other speed horse. Splitting them up, though, will be the 10, hopefully, for our sake, Thirsty Betrayal. So I think that's a good exacta in the last race. Morning line has Beverly Park at 9-2. I'll be surprised if it's that price, but I've been wrong many times in my past, too. So not a critical statement there, but I just think the people are going to look at these numbers of like wins, right? The record at the track, the wins this year, the wins last year, and it's going to be a magnet. Even if 1 for Richie may look faster on paper, and that's a good argument to make, I think the public will go for Beverly Park. Single in the last one, Beverly Park, or go for 1 for Richie. I think this is one where if you have a strong opinion of one of the two, you go ahead and make the single, because then you can bet the same ticket in the pick 4, pick 5, and it'll cost half as much, or you could bet the same ticket for twice as much as if you went for a double and going too deep. So it's a tough one. It's a tough one. I wouldn't mind having both horses, but it's gambling, and I would rather hit the pick 4 or pick 5 twice than spread and have both these horses on a ticket that may not pay huge, depending what goes on. So it kind of depends. Do you have long shots in the other legs in the first 4 legs of the pick 5 or the first 3 legs of the pick 4? If you got some prices mixed in there, then you probably want to go too deep, because these horses are very evenly matched. If you don't have big prices in the first leg and you're trying to hit a focused ticket, then I think you just take one of them and play it twice, and then say it's going to be a $60 payoff or something like that. Then you'll hit it for $120 instead of going too deep and splitting your ticket and only getting it for half as much. So tough decision to make for sure. But I think, looking at the other horses we have in there, I don't think, in the pick 5 where we can get Smooth Like Ice, I think if we can get a good price on Smooth Like Ice, in the pick 5, I think maybe you go too deep because you got your big price in that first leg. You want to get that 12-1 shot. So you use both of these horses in the pick 5. But in the pick 4, that's going to start with Extra Anejo and then 2 deep in the 8th race, maybe 4 deep in the 9th. We're only looking at 8 combinations at that point. I don't think you want to go too deep and make it 16 and have a couple short price favorites in front of it. So late pick 4, single Beverly Park is the way I would recommend it. In the late pick 5, though, when you have the 12-1 shot in the race number 6 is the top pick, then I think you want to use both of those horses, Beverly Park and 1 for Richie in the 10th and final. So that's going to wrap up the action for tonight's Keeneland Look Ahead. I want to thank you for joining us. We'll be back at it tomorrow, 8:30 Eastern, as we preview the Friday card. Friday features the Sycamore Stakes. We've got grass racing back in a bigger way on Friday. including the return of the Keeneland Turf Pick 3. So you'll want to check us out tomorrow night for all that. First post time is 1 o'clock, I should say. First post time 1 o'clock on Thursday. A reminder: 17,800 in the Pick 6 carryover. That will start in race number 5. Scott and Gabby will have the morning show for you, Keeneland, today at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. Be sure to check out the updated conditions and their thoughts, Tom Leach's long shot pick of the day, and all the good stuff they have on Keeneland today coming up on Thursday at 11:30. Again, first post time with Kurt Becker and the gang at 1 o'clock. Good night, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow.